Welcome to the Beauties Podcast, where we talk about everything you need to know about women's sports. From the grassroots to the pros, we got it all. Today on the show, we talk about women signing million-dollar contracts and how this will progress women's sports. Here are your hosts, Addie and Cowie.
Oh, episode 11 at the sports desk here. Super pumped about this week. But how was your weekend, Cowie?
I just returned from a girls' weekend, which is always, it fills your soul for sure. Lots of laughs. I need a detox, but it was great. Yeah, it was a nice little reboot. So it was good. How about yours?
It was good. Lots of Olympics.
Yeah, we did that too.
Lots of Olympics.
That was the nice part. We streamed it from my phone to the TV in the cabin. So, 8 or 9 of us huddled around watching sports. It was fun.
I wonder if there's anybody that lives outside of Canada that would consider renting a cabin in winter.
A cabin where you have to follow a chicken trail to an outhouse.
Oh,
yep.
That's a cabin.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bathroom, but there's only one bathroom. And when there's that many and everyone's kind of hungover, you just
go to the outhouse. I'm up to the trail.
Yeah, freeze your buns a little, but
that's
it's nicer for everyone else.
That's real. What'd you drink? What'd you drink to stay warm out there?
Yeah, so we had some local craft brews for a bit, and then I got it into, it's called Whiskey Jack. Whiskey.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a nice winter drink. It's kind of tastes a bit like apple cider, so got into a little bit of that.
That
had some gin. I don't know. It's, one of those.
One of those.
Whatever was closest to my hand.
What's in my wingspan right now? Because I love that drink.
Yep. No Mai Tais. Pink Whitney, though.
A little Pink Wit.
Yeah.
That's always nice.
Yeah.
Mai Tais. We're going to do it. We are literally.
I know.
We're going to show up to a pro sporting event next year.
And order a Mai Tai. Excuse me, I don't want your beer, Mr. Baseball Salesman. Do you guys make a Mai Tai?
How mean is your Mai Tai?
I'll get a Mai Tai and a popcorn helmet.
I would do pretty much anything for a Mai Tai. Courtside, just sipping on
Courtside Mai Tai. Does it come with an umbrella?
It has to.
Must.
It has to. So we're getting a bucket list going here.
Yeah, anyways, good week.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I opened up some wine doing the Instagram live one night.
Yeah,
I was like,
rocking it.
Let's go. Let's have a live. Well, let's have some wine in it.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Let's get in there.
Yeah.
So that was super fun. The lives have been tons of fun.
Yeah, and we talked about what I posted on social media this week, and that's one thing I said, right, is it's been fun to get comfortable being uncomfortable with you. Mm-hmm. And we talked about that. I only was able to join you for one live, so thanks for doing all of those. But yeah, it's a learning curve for me and you.
Oh, yeah. I've never, the people that know me, this is the most I've ever been on social media.
Yeah. Addie forgot she had social media until this.
When I leave a room, I die because I don't post anything. When I'm not in a room with you, I am not posting anything. But for beauty sports, no question. And it has been exciting to actually follow the athletes through the Olympics. Mm-hmm. I try to do my best every year, but this year I've obviously been a little bit more OCD about it.
For sure.
And mixed curling has been unbelievable. Did you see Canada play Australia last night?
Mm-hmm.
Is that not maybe one of the greatest games I've ever seen? Down 7 bagel, come back.
But that's the mixed doubles though, right? And it's even when you watched through, it's an entirely different strategy of curling. Because it's not unusual to steal 3, steal 4. I don't know. That's why I think mixed doubles is so thrilling to watch.
Yeah. And that's the way I kind of relate it is when 5-on-5 hockey goes to 3-on-3.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good analogy.
The 4-on-4 that's going to be starting up soon, right? It's the standard. And then it's now let's put it into overdrive.
Yeah.
And
high offense.
Yeah. So for that last shot for Homan, that's a tough one, but they battled. Man, did they battle. So the Battle of the Titans is Canada versus Italy. That's going to be coming up on the 7th, which is going to be wild.
That was my thing yesterday, which you've done a better job than I have of following the Olympics. Like, they do have on the website where you can toggle into away from Beijing time and into your own time
Mhm.
zone,
Yeah.
but also makes that confusing because then when you're on today, everything's done because it's tomorrow there, but we're in our time zone. I mean, it's hard.
It's hard, and that was one of the reasons from switching the lives from 11 a.m. to 8:30
Yeah.
p.m. because there's some things that, like for women's slope style,
Mhm. Mhm.
when I had it written down as something to let people know about for the following day,
Yeah.
it was happening during the live because that's their time there.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to always readjust and keep people up to date. But it's been like the slope style was unreal, Australian one. So it was, and they went big.
Yeah, big time
They
big.
they went big time big. I loved it. I
Like
love that
a
event. So
5-point win over the next closest person, I think.
yeah,
92.88
yeah. Oh
versus
yeah.
87 something.
which is which is crazy. So yeah, the Olympics has been fun. If you have not, we do Facebook and Instagram live every single night at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it's just to talk about what's been going on specifically with the women at the Olympics, keeping everybody up to date with scores, key matches, because I know everybody can't watch everything. So if there's certain matches or certain people you want to watch, we go over it all and keep you up to date. So tune into that. It happens literally every single night
Yeah.
for the duration of the Olympics.
I did make a note in my phone this week, and I don't remember where I heard it, but this year there's 106 women in our Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most ever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and we broke the record in Summer Olympics as well.
I love that.
We broke it in Summer Olympics and now heading into Winter
Good.
Olympics.
Good.
Good. Right track. Thinking of a lot of other things on the right track too, because as much as the Olympics has obviously dominated a lot
Mhm.
of the sports media talk, there has been huge moves in a lot of other leagues. And
Mhm.
a huge announcement with the WNBA is the $75
Mhm.
million commitment
Mhm.
back into the league, as well as signing Nike as a major
That's true,
sponsor,
yeah.
an
Yeah.
investor. Like, what?
Some money flowing, finally.
Finally getting it kind of, well, not kind of, like, these women are making good money.
Or have opportunities to make, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
actual money. The WNBA, and it's so interesting, excuse me, with the free agency and all of that because it really put into perspective because they couldn't sign anything until February 1st, and then it was there's a reason they call it free agency frenzy, right?
Oh, it was it was trying to keep track of, because everybody is an insider on Twitter, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
everybody's an
Yeah.
insider, everybody knows what's going on. So trying to find those key people that actually are like in the trenches of it all and
Mhm.
following them. This must have just been the craziest month for them, because
For sure.
there was rumors of European leagues
Mhm.
paying the women more to sit out a WNBA season to
Mhm.
go play for them. And it's like, okay, well, if you're going to make, 250,000 playing in the WNBA, or they're going to pay you 500,000 to not play.
Yeah, to travel and
It's
hang
a
out for a year.
very interesting dynamic, but there was a lot of, once February 1st hit, a lot of key signings that were expected. Sylvia Fowles back with the Lynx, Stewart, Lloyd,
Mhm.
and Bird in Seattle. Asia Wilson stayed in Vegas. They would
Yep.
have done everything they could to keep her.
Yeah, you assume.
Everything to keep her. Jonquel Jones re-signing in Connecticut. Mercedes Russell's re-signing in Seattle. So they've got a really good core. Clea Copper re-signing in Chicago. So like a lot of really key people that you're wanting to keep.
Yep.
Like they're creating their foundations, right?
Yep.
There has been some movement though. Like
Oh, yeah.
as much as there's been stable consistency re-signings,
Yep.
there has been some big key movements.
Yeah, you're not
One
wrong.
of which being Diamond DeShields.
I know. That one shocked me,
Me too.
honestly. That one really, really shocked me. And I think you made a good point before we hit record today, just in the coaching changes that have happened. And last week, us talking about Sandy Brondello and Vanessa Nygaard, and it's like you really. We talked about the Chicago Sky and why you wouldn't want to stay there, but it has been a lot of uneasy ground for them after becoming a championship team. And I think you're right. There is a lot of credit due to coaching staff in new organizations.
Yeah, because if you looked at what Candace Parker was thinking she was walking into with the Chicago Sky organization, she was the glue
Mhm,
that was going to bring everybody together for that leadership piece to get the championship. They got it,
mhm.
and
Mass exit.
mass. And we talked about that as well too. Like generally when free agency happens, it's not like the whole starting lineup is in question. It's like, okay,
No.
maybe one, maybe two, like not not
L
Vandersloot, Quigley,
Yeah,
uh
the Shields,
DeShields, Dolson's
Dolson,
gone.
yeah.
Like where did this feeling
Some
of
disconnect somewhere.
and so obviously Chicago's thinking, okay, this is where we signed Kalia Copper. She
Mhm.
was an absolute well, she was the MVP of the WNBA championship. So it's like, we're gonna keep her.
Yep.
We're gonna keep her and let's now move all these other pieces. And I think there was a little bit of, okay, where do you feel I fit? Because Courtney Vandersloot owned
Mhm.
own. And then Quigley wins the 3-point the competition in the middle of the All-Star game against
Yeah.
Jonquel Jones. So
Yep.
you've got the league MVP, you got somebody that's a shooter like Allie Quigley who can beat her and did beat her one-on-one in that competition. And then it's like, well, we don't know where you fit. It's like, well, I'm a shooter,
Yeah.
and that's where I fit.
But also I
It
fit last year. Like,
and I
that's always
fit.
the confusing part
That's
to me. But I fit last year, but now you're not sure where I might fit.
So it's very interesting as Stephanie Dolson has now moved on to
Liberty.
Liberty,
Yep.
signing a 2-year deal with them. Called it. We
Yeah, you
called it.
yeah, yeah,
We called it. And so saw it
yeah,
a mile away. She's from there.
yeah,
I just feel like she had this connection with Sandy Brondello, coaching a player like Brittany Griner. I
yeah,
feel like that was a big piece of the
yeah.
decision. I could be wrong, but all in all, she signs there on a 2-year deal. Then we hear Diamond DeShield heads over to
Yeah,
Phoenix.
Phoenix. I
Heads
know.
over to Phoenix. So you got to give Vanessa Nygaard credit.
Hugely. Hugely,
Got to
hugely.
give her credit. Like, holy man, has she been like, she's putting in the work.
And she's stacking a roster.
Yeah. And she is stacking her
Like,
roster. And it was funny because there's a guy on Twitter and all he wrote was WNBA winners. And it was Liberty and Phoenix, losers, Atlanta and Indiana.
yeah.
And I was like, he's not wrong
Yeah.
though. You know, it's bold. It's like
Yeah.
a very blunt statement.
That's a very
that's
Twitter
like,
statement,
that's
though.
a Twitter statement. That's
The
right.
thing you
But
can say behind your keyboard.
yeah, exactly. But I, you
But
can't.
hard to argue with that lineup that Vanessa's putting together in Phoenix. He's not wrong.
Well, if you look at, and they just signed Kia Nurse
Yeah,
as
so
well.
it's just
Brittany Griner, Diana Taurasi, Skylar Diggett-Smith, Diamond DeShields, and Kia Nurse.
yeah. Okay. They're-
Win,
Yeah.
win. You're just
Yeah.
winning all the time. So that for me, I'm a huge Diamond DeShields fan as well. So for her moving, that is something very interesting because I thought that they did a really good thing going in Chicago. So I think that's why we always keep coming back to that kind of conversation is that has been the biggest maybe shock of
Mhm.
the free agency is like, why is this team that was just like clicking along deciding to make all these moves, right? So it does look like Vandersloot and Allie Quigley are in works to come to an agreement with Chicago to stay
Yeah.
because they were the ones that were being tempted, I think, to take these big contracts to go over and sit out a year and go to Europe.
Yeah.
I think at that point you have to think what's bigger here? Is it taking $100,000 more and sitting out a year, or is it staying in the
Continuing to
league and
build.
growing, right?
Yeah, and I think part of the decision that they have to make, unfortunately, is to prove a point.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we saw that through social media that Courtney Vandersloot was they were upward, jeez,
Yeah.
open and honest. They were outward forward with that of feeling disrespected by the offer that the Chicago Sky originally made them. And so I think, unfortunately, as much as you want to stay and build and do the right things to continue, and they don't like, maybe they do want to go overseas. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's part of it is I
Yeah.
got to, and I think really cool. And there's some examples this week of people maybe being too outward on some of their thoughts and emotions. But it's about time that someone just stands up and says how
Yep.
it feels
And
to
that,
be wronged or feel wronged.
yeah,
Yeah.
and to know that, well, we're segueing very nicely right now into the Liz Cambage, Becky Hammond
Yeah.
stuff that's going on. And you're right. Like, how many times have you seen somebody step up and go, I am worth more
Yeah.
in the men's side? And
Yeah.
so Liz Cambage is saying, Becky Hammond, her salary has not been released, but it is known to be north of $1 million, which
Yeah.
it's like, we have to give kudos to that. We have to.
Yeah.
Like, we are now seeing contracts in women's sports north of $1 million. And we're going to get into that a little bit later in the
Yeah.
NWSL as well. But
Yeah.
we're now seeing it more north,
Yeah.
which is very positive. Very, very positive.
Mhm.
In any other sports league, though, which makes women's sports very unique, is the players get paid more than the coaches.
Mhm.
So now to see that in reverse shows that we're heading in the right direction, but it's just taking this uneven kilter, because what was a bigger story this year than Becky Hammond moving from the NBA to the WNBA?
Yeah. I know.
There wasn't one. It was the biggest move, and it brought so much back to the WNBA.
Yeah.
It's a super positive thing. She's making money. She's not going to leave. This isn't a one.
Yeah.
She signed for 5 years or whatever.
Not a
It's
one
not
and
like
done. Yeah.
she's making good money. It's not about that anymore. Now it's about the growth and development of the WNBA.
Mhm.
But Liz Cambage,
Yeah, and I found it interesting for her to be that. I don't think it's a slam of Becky Hammond,
I d-
but it looked that way, which is the
Yeah.
part I didn't enjoy about it. I think it's a slam of the system,
Mm.
right? In that a coach comes in and makes, 3 times, 4 times a lot of the salaries that women are getting.
right.
That's the part I didn't enjoy, is it appeared very much of like a spite
Like
against Becky
this.
Hammond, and it's like, I think what needed to happen, or what needs to happen now too, is maybe a recognition of that from her, Becky Hammond, and saying, "I'm helping build this. There's a reason I fought for $1 million contract. It's so you can next time."
Yeah. We're allies.
Yeah.
We are together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So every time we talk about women now signing massive paychecks, there's always going to be, like, with money comes tension, because everybody values
Mhm.
themselves based off of money and their contract and stuff like that. That's
Yep.
from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
But it's to take a step back and be like, okay, so now there's $1 million in the WNBA.
Yeah. There's room to grow.
There's
Clearly.
room to, if we keep progressing, there's a $75 million commitment for capital.
Yeah, and if you
Capital
have the
raise.
people like Vandersloot who say disrespectful offer,
Let's go.
I'm out if you don't get wherever whatever that line was.
Yeah, we're here to work together,
And
but
now
at
I
the end
think
of the
that
day,
they can all start to do that.
yeah. So I think at the end of the day, like, Liz Cambage has decided, well, verbally,
Mhm.
to move on to LA Sparks.
The eye roll. You guys can't see the eye roll, but
Well, on YouTube you can.
Yeah,
Maybe.
the eye roll.
But so she's gone to LA, and they did say that as of now, after this kind of push, her, like, star-studded value has gone up. Like, she is just in here. She's a very valuable player. She's here to make money. She's here to live a big life. So they did say, like, at the end of the day, it was very positive for Liz Cambage.
Yeah.
I just wish it like exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not
It just
okay,
looked
well,
very
I'm Liz
personal.
Cambage and you're Becky Hammond and
Yeah.
whatever. It did. It looked
It
like they
looked
were trying to
personal.
pin them against each other,
Yeah.
which I don't think it was either.
Yeah, and media can always do a great job of making us think.
Yeah. And the
you know.
last thing we need is more women versus women. Like
Yeah.
we're growing the thing. We're not
Yeah.
again we're growing it.
Yeah, you and I have talked a lot about that, and like we've this is not relevant really to what we were talking about, but we've talked about it a ton with directionally of beauties and where we see just in general and gaps in women's sports and we've talked about it from the perspective of there's lots of other women trying to do things that we're doing.
Yeah.
And when I've talked about it in some, groups of people and friends, it's well, you don't want to like so what I'm talking about is like we know of like Just Women's Sports podcast. We've talked about it on here before.
Right.
The Noxie and Cax show.
Right.
Highlighting PWHPA players. If you guys are looking for more things to fill your ears, the Noxie and Cax show is sponsored in partnership with the PWHPA, where you get to know women's hockey players.
You get to know the
That's
players.
the whole
and
premise of the show is uncovering the human of the hockey player and bringing that to the forefront. And some people have said, why would you bring that up? Why would you talk about that on your show? Because that's the freaking point, people.
Because that's the point. That's what we're trying to do.
That's exactly
here.
what we're trying to do. Is that I think there's enough room in your day to listen to Addie and I talk, and I think there's value, and we're in a segment. And then there's other women who are trying to do a lot of the same things that we're doing, and they deserve to be talked about. And it's the same freaking thing. So to pin or look like it's pinning Liz Cambage against Becky Hammond drives me a bit nuts.
Yeah.
And I want to hope
Yeah.
that that's not what it is, that it is now setting up women to prop each other up and fight for what they deserve.
And it continues on with the conversation of like women being in this space that there's only room for one. Like that needs to go. There can only be one assistant women's coach in the NBA. There can only be one women's podcast. There can only be not a chance.
Yeah,
like
I know.
you're right. Like there's so many other podcasts that are doing incredible things to promote women's sports, to get it to the point where they're going. We all have space.
Yeah.
We all have space.
Let's
and we
do it together,
let's
man.
do it. What's the
Yeah, I know.
So really, no, that's the exact same thing because it's a great analogy because I feel like I say it over and over. You hope it's not a personal thing and you just hope that it's
just
whatever.
looked
Because
not great, but
even with looking at what happened with the WNBA moving over to the NWSL, big movement there as the CBA has been agreed upon finally for these women to like be protected, be a legitimate league,
be
like
able to fight for their own rights.
be
The
able to-
fact that was, I guess, probably one of the biggest shocks to me is that there wasn't in I think going into the 11th year of the NWSL, we now have a CBA.
Yeah, I know.
And okay, so a lot of people might associate a CBA with sports. A CBA is a legally binding contract between an employer and its employees. And it allows you to fight for what is legally deserved.
Yeah, and have a standard.
Yeah, and so the
And-
fact that for 10 years they didn't have anything.
You think about the amount of talent that is in that league, and they were not quote unquote legally protected for
No.
those years. Ashlyn Harris, Megan Rapinoe, like these women were talking at the freaking White House.
Yep.
And they didn't have a CBA in the NWSL.
The fact that 5 male coaches last year were released for questionable conduct and, lots of bad things.
Yeah.
I
know.
mean, I guess now is the time because
because
you survive a year like that and you literally survive a year like that collectively.
Absolutely.
And carry on. Huge news. It's absolutely,
it's a long time
now,
coming.
but-
It's crazy. It should have been, you're right, years and years ago, but now with women coming into the league, it just brings up so many questions because now not questions, but it answers a lot of questions because and this is going to be an exciting because it opens up a whole new world. Like now women need to get agents.
Mhm.
Now women need, if
Yeah.
they want to pursue this at a professional
Mhm.
level, like a lot of them have,
Mhm.
it's not just like a send yourself out there, be good and see what happens. You get an agent, you get these things in place, you
Yeah.
start to, and now it becomes numbers because how could somebody put up, 10 goals in a season
Mhm.
and then you know what she's making and you put up 15? Well, now there's that standard of, okay, well, my value's there.
Yeah.
How can I not be in that same category? So I think it's super positive alongside Trinity
Yeah.
Rodman. So that's
It's a big
also
deal.
a big deal. $1.1 million
Mhm.
contract signed to the Washington Spirit. Trinity Rodman, first ever woman to put pen to paper
Mhm.
for $1 million contract.
Yeah, so it's not $1 million annually. It's
Yeah.
$1 1.1 over 4 years, so 275K a year. Not that I don't want to downplay that. That's still a huge deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all things considering, the fact that her annual salary will be 100, almost 4 times the league maximum because of allocation dollars, like that's where it gets confusing to me.
Yep.
Where we're used to male sports that have a salary cap, and you get to, as general manager or whoever in that kind of like leadership executive suite,
Mm-hmm.
decide how it's like having one big pie and how many slices do we make.
Yeah, and we went back and forth on that when they were going through the expansion draft, and San
Yeah.
Diego tossed, 2 picks to the side because they knew in the background what they were gonna get is more an allocation money.
And
And
wasn't that offered us some clarity the other day when we were
yep.
talking? Because when we started on that, you're right, because it was like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, we need to do
Howdy.
some research. Why are you passing up players for, like, what does allocation money mean? So it's money allocated to teams by the league. And obviously you can also trade that allocation money. And how impactful,
Yeah.
because this contract is essentially propped by 90% allocation money.
Yep. Which which makes the NWSL so unique.
It
Like,
is. It
it's
is super unique. I also wondered, like, for being a 19-year-old, um, again, this kind of goes back to that Liz Cambage, Becky Hammond thing in a way of like, I really hope that people see the
future.
future
Yeah.
of what that now allows.
Yeah.
I talked about it in a previous episode. Like, remember when Mike Babcock took that
Yeah.
contract with the Leafs and it set a new standard for NHL coaches.
Yeah.
And this, like, I just hope, because otherwise, I mean, that's a lot of weight for a 19-year-old to carry.
Could you imagine you're walking into the room and you play for the Washington Spirit? So even just looking around, like Kelly O'Hara seems
Yeah.
like an incredible person.
Doesn't she?
An incredible person. And to go back to what we were talking about of women lifting women,
Yeah.
she's the host of the Just Women Sports
Yeah.
podcast. She brings on the
Names.
biggest names in women's
Yeah,
sports. She
everyone from
is
like Chloe Kim, snowboarder,
Hillary
to
Knight and
Nelly Corda.
yeah, she's
All the
talked to some
we don't have
people.
access to.
Lots of cool people.
Yeah.
But so she's in that room. So she's clearly established. She's been to the Olympics. She's
Yeah.
done all these things.
For sure.
And you have Trinity Rodman walk
Yeah.
into the room and so I do agree that there needs to be a level of maturity happening here on both sides of the coin because at that same time Trinity Rodman has an agent who represents her.
Yeah.
Trinity Rodman wasn't in there saying, "Hey everybody,
I
want
made a napkin contract, sign here."
So it's at the bar and this is what I want.
Yeah.
She had people going to bat for her,
Yeah.
saying, no, 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 this is what she's done. This is what she's worth. And they said, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
So there's so many positives on this side where it's like, this is where it needs to go. And this is the same
Mhm.
thing. And we actually, my family are talking about back in the day when it came out that Gordie Howe was being
Yeah.
grossly underpaid,
Mhm.
but nobody knew.
Yep.
So guys that were like fourth line bangers were making however much was big
Yeah,
back
we
in the
don't
day,
know.
like
Yeah.
15 grand, and he was making 9.
Yeah.
And he was the face and he was the star. So as soon as he found that out,
Yep.
that's when hockey began to change.
Yeah,
So
power and knowledge.
So as much as people may be thinking, okay, whatever, we have to remember that this is pushing this in the right direction. It's just going to take a little bit of a period to even things out a bit.
Yeah, for sure. And we've also talked about, so Trinity Rodman, daughter of Dennis Rodman, who and people will take that and spin it both ways,
Mm-hmm.
of the privilege of being the daughter of a former athlete who comes along with a lot of resources,
Yeah.
in terms of financial privilege and access to things like agents
Agents.
and that and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then, in my head, it's like, cool. Sadly, we say it all the time. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if that's what it takes, like if that's been the missing link, is we need someone who's connected enough to make it happen once.
Right.
Who gives a hoot?
Yeah. No, for
Cool.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Trinity, for being
Let's,
an absolute freaking monster on the
yeah.
pitch.
Yeah.
And let's go.
Yeah. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And well, we can even refer that back to Angel City with this
Yeah.
with the ownership of being not only the one and only Serena Williams, but
Yes.
like Natalie
Yeah.
Portman and Eva Longoria.
Yep. Good point.
People that are just like
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, we
Like,
did talk about that. It's a really good point.
right?
Super good point.
So it's you're right. It's that shift, and we're in like a, I obviously want it to happen sooner than later.
Yeah.
Like for us to be able to literally go through however many sports we have, and all we've talked about is dollars in the millions. That's
Yeah,
pretty
it's huge.
that's pretty huge because
Yeah.
even the purse for LPGA has gone up by $10 million this year.
Mhm.
So Drive On Championship in Fort Myers just finished up as well. So we've just gone through major sports and they've all had the word millions a part of it. Which
Yeah.
it's like,
And
okay,
increase.
and increase and um competitive CBA, like everything is heading in the right direction.
Totally.
It's just this like you don't want to say 5 years because 5 years seems like a long time, but to get through the seasons and to figure it
Yeah.
all out, like the landscape of women's sports in 5 years is going to look very different.
Oh.
Very
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
Very
Yeah,
different because
we got a saying at work, with a colleague of mine, and it's "get there faster," and that's how I feel about this.
yeah,
Is
totally.
I wish, but also you're right. I think we need to take pause and recognize right path.
Right path, right movement, lots of really good things. So, even with um, Drive On Championship ending off with a purse of 1.5 million, um, Leona Maguire,
Yeah. First Irish woman to win a major.
huge. That's
Huge.
huge. And we've been pretty on top of golf the
Yeah.
last couple weeks because beginning of the season, this is the
Mhm.
third um, tournament, and then so Danielle Kang has been on a tear, Lydia Ko. They've all kind of been in that, top 10 spot.
Yeah.
Brooke Henderson, top 10. Um, Obviously the Cordes sisters. And then this one,
Curveball.
curveball.
Big curveball.
Big curveball. So this is like literally shaking it up in the
Yeah.
LPGA because Leona Maguire, 18 under, crushes this course.
Yeah.
Made it her own,
Yep.
came into it, and Lexi Thompson, I love her. I think she's so good.
Mhm.
Just comes in on a tear. Did you see her chip in?
Nope.
I'd say 10 feet in the fringe off the green. Chips it in
Okay.
for eagle. Give me a
Yeah.
break. I was
I
losing
would have
it,
skied it across the green.
and that's the one thing that, as women's sports grows and progresses and that kind of stuff, like if a guy made that, he would have been like doing the fist pump all the way across, or would have been whatever. And
Yeah.
she was like, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." I was like, "You just made the best shot
Get
of the
jacked,
tournament.
girl.
Give me, give me one of these,
Yeah,
like
a little emotion.
because." I get it. She's like in the zone. She's trying to catch
Yep.
McGuire. She's got to stay dialed in. But I'm like, that was so nice. It was so good. So,
Yeah, and it was, I thought this was, so I was in a meeting this week with a fella I work with, and who's a really avid golfer, and it was so nice to see. This sounds, I just want to Like, nice to see a 50-year-old guy who avidly follows the LPGA.
Yeah,
Because
cool.
he was talking about Danielle King, and 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I remember watching her thinking, she's the next
Yeah.
whatever. So, for anyone because I just think there's always that myth that men don't wanna watch women's sports, and we see it and hear it way more now than we ever did.
Yeah, I could not agree more. It's and we could go on a huge tear on this, but just the accessibility of the sports.
Mhm.
Sports are sports at the end of the
Yeah,
day. They are exciting
yeah,
whether you're a man or a woman. It
yeah,
is just putting those tired old narratives to rest
yeah,
and actually just putting it in front of people
yeah.
because it's like, okay, you can't tell me that the women that are performing at the Olympics right now are not exciting. Like,
Right,
so
right.
ski jumping, I'm obviously OCD about following it this year. The winner,
Yeah,
Slovakia,
yeah,
she jumped 121 meters.
okay.
A
So oh
football
my
field,
yeah.
a football field is 102.
Oh,
That's
god.
how long
That
she
makes me,
was
like,
in the
nervous, sir.
air. I feel like a cannonball shot her out. Like it just launches her
Literally.
because I was like, okay, that's far. Like
Yeah,
that's far. And it's
and then you gotta
it's 20
fall out of the
meters
sky and land.
perfectly. And you have to stay your skis have to be parallel with your chest. It's with the wind in Beijing has been very unpredictable for them as well.
Yeah,
So you can see their shoulders like they're trying to
trying to readjust.
maintain and keep oh
No
my.
kidding.
It was very cool. But when you put things like that in perspective,
Yeah.
it's like this woman launched her body with skis
121
over
meters.
top of a football field and landed like this. Like
Yeah,
in
on
and
almost looks like 1 foot,
oh yeah, like they do the 1 foot thing and
like
super chill. It's like you just flew over a football field. Like it is pretty amazing when you
that
can
is
have
so
references like
freaking
that.
true.
Well,
Well, and I also thought that it's an interesting, year in you made a note in hockey a bit of and just the Olympics in general. You can't tell me that it's not. It's so interesting now because the NHL hasn't sent players. Isn't that
mhm.
you've seen there it's now the forgotten sport. Men's hockey, no one
Can't find
cares
it.
because because it's not
Yeah.
the NHLers.
Yeah. It's
And so now it's like, "Oh, we'll actually our preference now is to watch the women."
yeah. Well, just
It's like,
well, I know. I know. And could you imagine now and it sucks because it's like the guys are there and it's a massive deal for them. It's not like they're
huge.
like
Yeah.
shitty hockey
Yeah,
players
we
because they're
didn't
not in the
find them at Allard
NHL. Yeah,
Arena,
you didn't
like
just we didn't pick them up at the bunk down the
yeah,
road.
like,
We
well
they're incredible athletes, but then in the same token, being a female athlete back in the day, it kind of has this internal feeling to me of like, well, how does it feel?
yeah.
Because when I was at international tournaments and you see all this stuff, you walk by the boys' dressing room and then you go to yours that you had to walk through the storage closet to get to.
Mhm.
It's like, ooh, there's a part that it's like
Yep.
it's but the women that are competing at the Olympics right now in ice hockey have earned the right to take
Oh
that
my
stage,
yeah.
no questions asked.
Mhm.
It's been
I just think it's so interesting. I just think
I
just
agree.
because and I understand because there is a part of me too that thinks that the Olympics is supposed to be the best players that your country can field.
Mhm.
And yeah, ours are in the NHL and so are everybody else's because that is the best league in the world.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I agree in a way that it is less thrilling
Mhm.
because you instantly know. But yeah, just now for that to as soon as the NHL spotlight goes away, then there's a bigger spotlight on women because we don't care about watching these, second notch
No,
male team. Like
I know.
what?
I know. It's absolutely crazy. So and
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's
Sorry,
be
I side railed you there.
no, because I agree. I completely agree with you. It's very telling.
Yeah.
It's very, very telling.
Yeah.
So, because even continuing on with hockey specifically the PHF coming back
Yep.
from their All-Star break,
Mhm.
which seemed to be a huge success.
Yeah. looked to
Huge
be.
success. And all of a sudden, Connecticut on a tear.
Yeah, I was telling you, I saw on Twitter 7 in a row. And well, now we still have because the six aren't playing till next weekend,
Mhm.
so there's always that. But yeah, it's a very tight race at the
Yeah.
top, and then it falls off.
And just to, quickly touch on it here with at the beginning when we first started following, well, not when we first started following, we've been following it the whole time, but like at the beginning of the season, the games played were so different.
Yeah.
And now they've finally evened out, which
Yeah.
is very cool. So the games being between essentially 10 to 13, it's exactly the same. And with Toronto 6 and the Connecticut Whale both tied at 28 points, working our way down to the Buffalo Buttes with 2 points. That was I thought Pride. I think Pride has a lot more in them. I think we're going to see a lot more out of Boston coming up in the next little bit here
Did you see their NHL boys sporting?
I
They rocked
did.
those. They
They
looked great.
Every single guy wore a jersey.
Yep.
That's pretty unreal.
That's what we need.
That's what we need right there,
Simple, cost you $0.
Yep. Huge.
Use your privilege to
Yes.
help others.
Absolutely. So that was really good. So the only thing I find interesting a little bit is Connecticut is not back into action other than today until March 5th.
What?
March
What's going on?
5th
It's 3 weekends. Nothing.
of nothing. And then they play Minnesota, who's currently in 4th position. So it's like, wow.
Is this part of the calendar cleanup still, or?
It must be. It must be part of some COVID figure it out kind of stuff at the end of it because everybody else plays February 12th, February 26th, and then Connecticut Whale March 5th. As a coach, that's a nightmare.
I know you said that last time
As a
too,
coach,
with this
that's a
gap that the six had, right?
nightmare. Coach, that's a nightmare. So that's going to be interesting to see how they manage that.
Mhm.
They are playing tonight. The Boston Pride and Connecticut Whale. I'm interested to see this game because I don't know if I just had more expectation for Boston this year because I know the level of talent they have on that roster.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh, you kind of should have just taken the whole thing. Toronto 6 is obviously still stacked,
Yeah.
but Connecticut is owning it right
What was
now.
yesterday? 3-2 final?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 1:00 today, Connecticut Whale, Boston Pride, Buffalo Buttes, and the Whitecaps, and then we're back into action on the 12th. So yeah, crazy, crazy gap there for Connecticut, and see how they're able to handle it and
Yeah.
go from there. So
That league, and that's the whole thing. I mean, COVID hasn't helped. COVID hasn't helped. It really hindered. So but I don't understand the scheduling of 3-week gaps. I just don't get it.
No,
It can't be a reschedule.
You'd almost think that they would have to, like, exhibition games is the first thing that goes to my mind. Who can you
Yeah.
play locally just so you can keep up to
Well,
what
maybe
you're
they are. Like,
and
I guess.
yeah.
We don't. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, we gotta call him. Hey, so what are you up to?
And this is the one point I want to make before this. So for those of you who are just listening to the podcast, I've got a WNBA hoodie on. I'm talking about it. Patty and I have talked about it for so long.
Yeah.
The desire I have to put apparel on and support, we've talked about it a lot in this podcast.
Yeah.
Women supporting women, humans supporting humans. I have tried. I bought this one because I could swallow the $8 shipping. What I didn't buy was the PHF that was a $60 hoodie with $30 shipping, or even worse, the NWSL hoodie that was $34 and the shipping was $48.
I know.
I just don't understand. I don't understand why everything has to be so hard. I just want to rock your merch so that when I'm walking through Safeway, someone asks me, what is the PWHPA?
Yeah, no, I agree. It needs to be way more
Oh,
accessible, and we have to stop thinking about it. And because apparel, it's kind of that fine line of the exposure and profit. You want to make profit.
of
There's no
course.
question. It is a business.
Here's my
But
point. I would rather buy $100 hoodie and spend 0 on
no,
shipping
that's
than buy a $35 hoodie and you ask me to pay $50 to ship it.
well, that was my point. Make it accessible make it as easy as
What?
possible without losing your dollars to go there,
Oh,
because you cannot tell me. I ship things
yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
Beauty Sports has merch.
Yeah.
I've been shipping things constantly. Nowhere has it cost me $50 to ship.
It's
Nowhere. So
outrageous.
get it. It's a business. You got to make money.
Yeah.
But people have got to be in your shit too.
Yeah.
People have to be wearing your stuff. I would have sold my soul for an orange, the exact
This one
opposite
was,
of what
yeah.
you're
You
wearing.
can rock orange. I less so.
Yeah. I like that one. I haven't even seen that one, but I would have sold my soul. But once again, it was very hard to figure it out, get it. So, and in a day of convenience, that was when we were selling everything with beauties. I was like, nope, this will be there
Yeah.
very quickly.
Mhm.
It's it's a part of our brand.
Yeah.
We want people wearing beauty sports. So I just think about these, and their merch is nice. Like the hoodie is fire. It's
That's
so
what
nice.
I mean.
We
That's
need to start having it more accessible to
yeah.
and easier to
You
find
want to
and
know my
wear.
last beef with this hoodie?
Okay.
I kept the tag upstairs. I'll show you before you leave.
Okay.
Ordered it off the WNBA website.
Yeah.
WNBA hoodie
Yeah.
comes with an NBA tag.
No.
Yeah, 100%. Comes with an NBA tag. I was
So
like,
what are we doing there?
what?
Yeah, what are we doing
Where's
there?
the miss here?
Yeah. Is it?
I get it. And the affiliation between the two is why is part
Yeah.
of why the WNBA has
Agreed.
been super successful. But
It
I
has
don't
to be branded in
yeah.
its own self. I completely agree, because it essentially has been like a brother sister relationship
Yeah.
between the NBA and the WNBA.
Yep.
They've done a very good job of it.
Yeah. Even
But
put both tags.
but they still have to have their
Yeah.
own identity. And
Right?
we do talk about that a lot. Like,
Yeah.
is it even though, because I've had somebody talk to me even about, okay, well, if women want to have a more successful hockey league, it should be Calgary Flames and Calgary Flames women. And I'm like,
Nope.
you can't. There's nowhere in that organization for a new identity.
Yeah, exactly. That's why the PHF has actually done a really good job. They're all of the branding of their teams and like all of that is super strong.
Yeah,
But you're right. You can't be like you think about if you had an older sister named Addie. How cool is it to be named Addie?
Yeah, like
Less cool.
yeah. What a great example, because you're right. I just instantly started to hate my name.
Yeah, yes. Because I'm like, cool. I'm the second younger.
Yeah,
meh,
sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree.
annoying. Like, why would anyone even? Okay.
Yeah,
So
no.
sorry. I needed to get it out because I do think in this episode where we talk so much about wanting to just lift it.
Yeah. I agree. I completely agree. I'm happy you brought that up, because
Irks
it's a self
I
of
want
identity.
to give you my money.
Like, I want to buy things.
Want to give you my money.
Yeah.
But I don't want to give it to FedEx.
Yeah. Yeah. No fair.
I just don't.
Yeah, I know. I
also
So
hate that they show it in USD and then don't tell you until it charges your card.
we're gonna send this to them, because this is a big thing, because there are a lot of people that as soon as they get into that phase of actually purchasing,
Mhm.
as soon as it becomes inconvenient once,
Yep.
twice, exit cart. It's done.
I
They
can't tell
will
you.
not buy it.
I can't tell you how many times because I want to do it. It's the right thing
Yeah.
for us to be in stuff that people will
Agreed.
ask. It's the right move. And I've probably a dozen times gone onto these websites and been like, God, should I just bite the bullet and do it? And I did. I ordered a PWHPA hoodie, even though it like burned my soul
Yeah.
to order a $65 hoodie and pay $30 in shipping.
I know.
But I did
know.
it because I think that's also part of making the point. But oh man,
I
like
know.
You're right. As soon as it was in, and I was stewing about this stupid $100 freaking hoodie. It's like I've wasted. I bought booze for the weekend that I just went on that cost more than I bought this hoodie for.
I know, but those are the realistic conversations that we need to have about, because like apparel, as much as people are like, oh, it's apparel, it is a part. It's an extension of your identity and your brand of your team.
Yep.
You should want everybody and their dog
to wear your stuff,
and be proud to wear your stuff. Like, and we could go back and like, I've seen people drop $350 on a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey.
100%.
Not even batting an eye at it.
And
probably pushing a
Leafs
grandmother
jersey?
out of the way to get to the cash register faster because they needed to have this Toronto Maple Leafs jersey because in their soul, their identity is a part of it.
Yes.
You cannot have that when you make it so darn hard to.
I know.
We can walk anywhere downtown and buy Jets anything.
Yep.
Like that.
Yep.
Anything.
Yeah.
And can we do that for any other sport? Not really.
Oh, I just want to. So, yeah, I hope, I literally hope somewhere, somehow, these organizations see it, because I'll wear your stuff, send it over.
Yeah.
But B, make it easy. I want to see it everywhere.
Yeah.
I want everyone who has watched the WNBA draft or the NWSL expansion draft or any of these, who looks up to a Jalen Howell and thinks, is she the next Trinity Rodman who's going to sign a $1.1 million deal?
Yeah.
To wear the shit.
Yeah. Agreed. I know it's such a major part that people completely forget about.
Yeah.
And it's got to be something. And we've both talked about being dedicated to buying female sports teams, apparel, stuff,
support
things,
it, wear it, talk
PHF
about it.
All-Star cards. Talk about it. Let's buy it. Let's make sure we're a part of the movement. So we're dedicated to it, but this is a conversation that is happening in every single household. You're buying your daughter a Christmas gift and the shipping is the same price as the product.
Well,
You can't.
No, you
so
can't.
Great point. Great way to end the show, because
a little aggressive on my part.
Well,
it's just a hoodie. I'm actually not that mad, but
it's a point. It's
I'm
a
frustrated.
good point.
I'm frustrated. Yeah.
No, it's a good point. It needs to be brought up because it's all about, and it goes back to the same thing when we're talking about women actually supporting women.
Yeah.
This is part of it.
Yeah.
This is a whole part of it. So
I agree.
we're right on track.
You betcha.
Well, Cowie, final words, my friend.
Yeah, no, it's been another fun week, ads. I do want to give a big birthday shout out to your mom, who's going to be listening to this on Tuesday. So happy birthday, Penny. For the rest of you, thanks for joining us again. You can follow us on social media. Find us on Instagram, TikTok at Beauty Sports Talk, on Twitter at _Beauty Sports. And I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
The lives.
Oh, and our voicemail.
Oh, and the voicemail.
Yeah, you can find our voicemail at speakpipe.com/beautysports, and you can join Addie and me at some points in the week on IG Live. Thanks a bunch, buddy.
Awesome. And we will see you all next week.